Hello, today we will talk about the effects of globalization on women's rights. We will first start with the introduction, then we will talk about Marie Curie along with the advantages and disadvantages of the globalization. This will be followed by an analysis of our research and in the end, our conclusion.
Globalization connects different parts of the world, whether it is economic, political, or cultural. We can describe it as businesses, organizations, and countries operating internationally. One of the most ancient and famous examples of early globalization is the Silk Road that connected Asia and Europe. However, it is the Industrial Revolution that drastically changed the way the world was working. It was the beginning of better and faster transportation and communication, which allowed countries to bring trading, tourism, and selling to another level. Nowadays, the rate of globalization is still increasing. The information revolution, with the advancement in technology, is allowing communication to be made in a matter of seconds, and information to circulate faster than ever. Nevertheless, the benefits of globalization are controversial. It has increased the standard of living in developing countries without a doubt. But what about emerging economies or workers? The results are not so good. In this presentation, we're going to focus on how globalization impacted social movements and more precisely women's rights. Globalization is not only about business and trade, it is also about free movement of people and especially free movement of ideas. It allows ideas and information to circulate, meaning that women are able to see how different nations treat women's rights and what is their role in society. It allows them to speak and to communicate, to fight for themselves, and it also creates opportunities for them to have a better situation, education, or job. In the following work, we're going to see how globalization has been beneficial for some women, and we're going to take the life of Marie Curie as an example. We're also going to look at the other side of the coin and how it has negatively impacted hundreds of women. In order to show how globalization was beneficial for women and feminism, we're going to take as an example the life of a very famous woman, Marie Curie. She was the first woman to become a professor at the University of Paris, and she was the first person to receive 2 Nobel Prizes. However, to do all those things, she had to look after the opportunities. Marie Curie was born in November 1967 in Warsaw, Poland. She had a good education and was a very talented student. She finished the gymnasium for girls with top grades. From there, she was unable to continue her study because universities were prohibited for girls in Poland. She and her sister became involved with the clandestine Flying University, an institution that admitted women students. Her sister managed to move to Paris to study medicine. Marie then worked as a governess in order to join her. She finally managed to move to France 2 years later and continue with her study of physics, chemistry, and mathematics at the University of Paris. It is thanks to that she became the figure she is now. Marie Curie is not a feminist word for word because she never really fought for women's rights, but she fought for her right to study and to become what she wanted to, showing to the world that women were as capable as men and that they had the right to follow their dream. Nowadays, she is still an example for women all over the world who wants to do science, a field which is still dominated by men. Without globalization, she could not have moved to Paris and start her studies there. She had the chance to see that in other countries there were more possibilities for her, and she also had the chance to be able to move from Poland to Paris. Those 2 things were possible thanks to globalization, the free movement of people, of ideas, and the amelioration of transportation.
It is no secret that unless explicitly stated otherwise, most of what we consume today has been made overseas. We are no stranger to the label made in China. This is because the labor cost drastically changes depending on which country you're in, and businesses definitely notice that. Contrary to popular beliefs, in this day and age, the recognition of human rights and their protection isn't something that is universal. A lot of enterprises have been abusing and neglecting their employees because of that. You would think that after the accident of the factory Rana Plaza, a supplier of H&M, which in 2013 killed 1,135 employees, that the conditions of exploitation would have improved since then. Well, we all thought wrong. Mere 5 years after that tragedy, another issue came to light. Coach Moda, H&M's Bulgarian provider, heavily underpays its employees, which mostly consist of women. Their monthly salary is less than half of Bulgaria's legal salary. The Guardian also reported cases of sexual and physical assault, verbal humiliation, and even more. All to women working in the clothing industry. Such violence doesn't only occur at the workplace, but also during their trip to work and in the living facilities provided by their employers as well. Coercion and threats are unfortunately all too common as well.
The case of Marie Curie demonstrates a positive and favorable aspect of globalization. Indeed, her knowledge and involvement in the science has led to many progresses, notably in the discovery of radioactivity. Curie is an example that women contribute to society as much as men do. She will remain an emblematic figure in the expansion of women's rights, as schools will later open their doors to women, such as Warsaw, the Polish capital, which will see its first female academics in 1915. Nevertheless, according to a study conducted by the UNICEF, more than 129 million girls do not have access to education in 2022, of which 32 million correspond to a primary education. This shows that globalization does not affect equally the entire world. Countries in difficulty are then disadvantaged, and their conflicts or beliefs put aside the importance of women's education. An example recently reported on the news is the case of Afghanistan, which denies its women access to set foot in a school. Fashion industries such as H&M, which mistreat their disadvantaged employees for the benefit of the richest countries, are also an example of bad globalization. But whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the companies that seek to make the most profit from their exports, or the government, which sees this discrimination as the only way to catch up with the competition from other countries? Or even us, the consumers, who turn a blind eye to the ordeal of those in poverty because we are comfortable with what globalization brings us? To conclude, globalization has indeed brought progress for the women's rights, but not for all. Some women have access to better positions than they did 100 years ago, but others still suffer from the same discriminations. There are two worlds in the globalization, the one for those who rule and the one for those who are subject to the rules, and it is difficult for the women to find a place in the first world. In other words, globalization is a hard topic to which everyone has an opinion, but never a satisfactory answer that will balance the world.